to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Oregon is headed to the Super Regional. Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Welcome into the Country Financial Studio on a Wednesday. Ryan Milano here with you in the middle of the week, filling in for Joey Mack, who is on the road with Oregon men's basketball as they prepare to face Ohio State tomorrow at 3 o'clock. First tip for the men. Chris Clayton also on the road with the women, where they will tip off at 2 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow against Penn State. Then the teams will flip-flop and play the opposite opponent on Sunday. That's what's coming up throughout the week. Because of the men's basketball and women's basketball games and the early women's basketball tip time, there will not be a Duck Insider show tomorrow. So today, what we're doing is we are previewing those matchups, reviewing still a little bit of what happened throughout Big Ten play in the early goings for both men's and women's basketball. And we have a lot for you on today's program. Jodi Berry sat down with Chris Clayton earlier in the week. Nani Falatea as well with Chris. Mike Mennenga sat down with Joey Mack. And we also have Keeshawn Barthelemy for you on the show. A ton of great content, and we do not have any time to delay. It is a packed day of hoops on Duck Insider, and we're kicking it off with the women. Chris Clayton, a few days ago in this studio, sat down with Jodi Berry, reviewing a little bit of what happened for Oregon women's basketball leading up to this point, and previewing the matchups coming up against Penn State and Ohio State. Associate head coach Jodi Berry sitting down with Chris Clayton.
Thrilled now to be joined by Associate Head Coach of the Oregon Ducks, Jodi Berry. Jodi, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
It's fun to be able to talk to you. We talk to Kelly Graves a lot. We talk to different players, but don't always get to hear your perspective, so we appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
So back-to-back wins for the team, right? Things are going well. You beat Northwestern by 20 in Evanston. Come home, beat Wisconsin by 16.
Yeah.
Those are good things. What's working well?
You know, I think just the chemistry is starting to build a little bit. Our depth is starting to come in really handy. And our defense. I think we kind of hang our hat on our defense this year. It's what gets us going offensively. It helps us, kind of shrink the game how we want it. We get to dictate a little bit more of what they do offensively, and then kind of springboards us into our offense.
Yeah, the defense you mentioned in Big Ten play, 4 games now. Second in forced turnovers. Third in steals, third in scoring defense. I mean, this is the Big Ten. This is one of the best conferences in the country, and those stats are right up there with the elites of the elite. How has the defense progressed and evolved this year to be able to help win you games?
Yeah, I think it starts off with just a few areas. We have, an elite ball stopper in Elisa. I think she can get up and really start us off, get a turn on defense, and which allows us to then sprint back and kind of get some different activities. And then, having a big inside with Philly, it allows us to be a little bit more aggressive defensively on the perimeter, knowing that if we do get beat, we have somebody inside who can kind of help alter those shots and help out when we need.
How does the scheme factor in to what you guys are doing outside of the individual talent these players have? How has the scheme allowed you to be so chaotic and force turnovers?
It's funny. It's like this kind of double-edged sword. You want to be who you are. You don't want to change it too much game to game. You want to just be like, hey, we are this team who's aggressive. We like to change it up between our man and our zone. And maybe in our zone we're a little bit more aggressive than we are in our man. But the reality is, we were able to a little bit against Wisconsin this 2 days ago, and we did a great job. Our kids were dialed in on our game plan and kind of just did a great job of forcing them into things that we wanted them to do.
And offensively, on the other side of things, the Wisconsin game you mentioned, you shot 46% from 3. That's your best of the season. And we talked after the game. You said that you guys as coaches and the staff kind of reevaluated what's a good three-point shot for us. Can you tell me about that process, how that went down, and what you guys learned?
Yeah, we have 7 guards really in those positions, and all of them can really shoot the ball. They really can. And so then we try to look at each one of them and see where are they best shooting the ball. Is it best? Most of the time we call them practice threes when it comes from inside the paint, whether that's a post kick out, whether that's guard getting downhill. Those are practice threes. Those are in rhythm, 1-2 step into your shot, facing the basket. You don't have to turn your feet. You don't have to change your hips. Everything is just picture perfect practice shots. So we want to hunt as many of those as we can get. And so how can we create those for each other versus hard ones? Maybe you're running in transition and you're not facing the hoop at the time, so you have to take a gather step to get into your shot. Those are a little bit more challenging. Now we have some elite players that are good at those types of shots. I think Peyton Scott that's great. That's what her game is. Nani's great at squaring up, sliding that 1-2 step into it, particularly in the corner. She likes that spot pretty well. And finding and hunting those looks. So I think everyone's a little bit different, so finding that groove for each one of those kids.
Continuing our conversation with Jodi Berry of the Ducks. Nani Falatea, you mentioned her. She's really good from the corner, and lately she's been scoring in a multitude of ways. She leads the team in three-point percentage now. 3 straight games scoring in double figures. What has flipped for her that she's been so explosive recently?
It's funny that you use the word explosive because I think that both all her teammates and everyone would describe Nani as just cool, calm, and collective, right?
Yeah, I think I was using hyperbole.
Yes, no, for sure.
I do that.
And I think that's what's so amazing from her is like every time Kelly's like, hey, Nani, go, she kind of has this little saunter jog over to the table, and he's like, Nani, go! And she just kind of looks, and her personality is what she is. She's just business and just doesn't ever get rattled and just is that super solid kid. I think that I don't think her game has changed. I think it's been really consistent, and that's just kind of who she is. She provides that spark. She does have that burst of speed. She can get downhill, create at the basket. She's actually really smart defensively. Maybe it's that football background from her family where she's good at getting steals, reading those passing lanes, and brings that physicality to our guard lineup as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the guards. Peyton Scott missed last game, but Sophia Bell's back in the fold now. Salimatu Kuruma should be making her debut soon.
Yeah.
So for you and the coaches, trying to figure out these minutes. I mean, it's beautiful to have this type of depth, right? But
it is.
How difficult has it been? What's the process been like trying to figure out how much to play these players and in what spots?
It's right. There's a lot of different barometers we use. We have a lot of different tools that kind of help us determine our best lineups and things like that, and who plays well with each other. What do we need? Who's our best lineup of getting paint touches, getting downhill to find post connections in different areas like that. There's a lot of different things that we use to figure out who we're going to play a little bit. And just the tempo of the game, I think, helps determine that as well. I think Katie plays really fast for us, so allowing her to get downhill and go. Same with Elisa. They're the big, get downhill and go. And then we have some kids who can kind of be slow and grind it out for us in that guard lineup as well. So it kind of the game dictates it a little bit, what post players they're playing with. And then defensively, we kind of, like I said, hang our hat on our defense. So we feel like we can get good stops defensively. What kids kind of help us to do that for us, and then we can allow them to go offensively from it.
It's fun to hear you talk about the combinations and the science behind it, because sometimes I think for fans, they're watching and they think, they're throwing that player out there, but there's a very specific strategy and thought behind the combinations you guys use.
There is. Yeah, we do a lot of work with analytics. Lisa on our staff is really good about it. So she's real dialed in on that. And yeah, we kind of find different lineups, and we try different lineups in practice. And yeah, it's not just randomly, hey, let's throw so-and-so in.
Right.
We usually have a method to the madness or a plan of action there.
And for you with Kelly Graves, you've been working together a long time right now, 23 years going back to your days at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
What have those 23 years been like, and what's kind of the genesis of your guys' relationship?
Yeah, I think, Kel's amazing. Like you said, 23 years is a long time. I was right out of college when I went over to Gonzaga at 22 years old. So I was a kid myself, didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I loved hoop, and he took me under his wing and taught me everything, I think. And we've grown together, right? We've, marriages, deaths in families, babies, all these things. I've watched his kids grow up. Now he's watched mine. I think all these things to just do life with someone, you have a different feel. I not only know what he's likely to say on the court, but I'm pretty sure in any social context, restaurant, I know what he's going to order. I know what he's going to say to certain people and different things like that. It's been really fun to kind of to grow with him.
Mm-hmm. And for something I've talked about with him is the change of college basketball, right?
Yeah.
Everything is just the last few years, even with NIL on and off the court. What's the the world and the process been like for you getting used to this new college basketball reality?
Yeah, it's been a change, and I think, like I'm sure Kel's talked about a little bit, your initial reaction is to kind of fight it, right? Like, oh gosh, this isn't what it used to be. I'm not sure if I'm really comfortable with it. But the reality is you got to jump in with 2 feet and all in. I think we really did that this past year, and I'm really excited about where it's going. I think it's great for student athletes. I think it's great for the University of Oregon and what we have here. So it's been a challenge, I think, to kind of see the process, but now that you kind of see it evolving and unfolding, it's really, really awesome to see these student athletes have this exposure and experience and voice.
And how about joining the Big Ten now?
Yeah.
Is it just basketball in different uniforms, or is there anything noticeably different, like styles of play or how it's officiated or anything different?
Yeah, I think it is different. I mean, I think the Pac-12 these last few years has been incredible, right? We've had some really talented rosters in Oregon State and UCLA and USC and Washington's, and you can go down the line, Cal, Stanford, all of them. And in the past, I think those schools in particular, and the Pac-12 has been a really big post player. Like, we've had huge post players in the Phillies and in the Lauren Betts from UCLA and the bigs from Stanford, and all these bigs have been really there. And a lot of these other schools, they don't have the 6'8" bigs. They have a 6'4" really solid athlete inside who can score in a multitude of ways. So I think that part of it's really changed. I think the Big Ten in the past, the last few years, if you look at the numbers-wise, has been a really offensive-driven conference. They like to push pace. A lot of those teams offensively are in the top 50, top 25, and in the NCAA, and defensively they haven't quite been there. And I think it's kind of adjusting and recalibrating with USC and UCLA and UW. If I can speak, because I know those 4 teams really well. So they're bringing that both really great defense and good offense. So it's been really fun to kind of see. And this last trip to Chicago was awesome. Yeah. Playing new teams. I know we've played Northwestern or tried to play them before, but got canceled with COVID. But it's fun to kind of see the difference and go to new places and experience that with these young women. And then heading to Penn State and Ohio State this weekend should be really fun. Yeah,
this is the longest trip of the year.
It's
getting it out of the way early. Right, going all the way to Pennsylvania first and then to Ohio State. Looking to the Penn State game, what stands out about them? What's going to be key to success?
Well, it's funny you say that. We try to just make it about us. What can we do defensively to really springboard our offense? Offensively, we run the same motion ball screen offense that we've run for a different number of years, and we look at how they defend and how we can attack them from there. So we'll just kind of do that. And we're us. We really want to push pace. To utilize our depth, we got to go fast. We got to create good opportunities early in that first 8 to 10 seconds of that shot clock, whether that's through advancing, kicking that ball ahead in transition, whether that's through our point guards getting downhill a little bit, finding paint touches, our bigs running the floor. We initially want to create from there and push that pace. A lot of these teams don't have as much depth as we do. We're rolling out 11 players every quarter, 12 players every, half, try to get them in the game to figure out and really utilize that depth. So by the fourth quarter, hopefully these other teams are a little bit more tired than we are.
Well, let's hope so. Back-to-back wins, looking for 3 in a row with a tough road trip ahead. Thanks for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's glad to be here.
Ducks Associate Head Coach Jodi Berry.
Big thanks to Jodi Berry sitting down with Chris Clayton earlier in the week before the women's basketball team had to ship out to go play against Penn State tomorrow at 2 o'clock Pacific time. 1:30 pregame is when Chris will take air on the Oregon Sports Network. You heard the coach's perspective. Now time for the player's perspective. Nani Falatea when we return after this on Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Recording earlier in the week, Chris Clayton sat down with Jodi Berry, just heard that, also sat down with Nani Falatea. We'll also hear Joey Mack and his conversation with Oregon men's basketball assistant coach Mike Mennenga, and hear from Keeshawn Barthelemy previewing this weekend. Normally, in seasons past, we'd have a Tip-Off Tuesday show. Unfortunately, with the move to the Big Ten, sometimes travel days are on Tuesday, games even are on Tuesday. Hard to have a consistent day of the week where you are recording these Tip-Off Tuesday interviews, but now we just get to record interviews and run them on Duck Insider like normal, which is just as much fun. You'll also see them throughout the weeks as they come through on the respective social media platforms for Oregon men's and women's basketball. Still focusing on the women, we heard from associate head coach Jodi Berry, now from one of the players, someone who has continued to grow in her first year after transferring to the Oregon system, coming off the bench, being an impact player, being a big-time bucket getter. That's what Nani Falatea does. Chris Clayton sat down with her earlier in the week, the conversation with Nani Falatea.
We're thrilled now to be joined by Oregon Ducks guard Nani Falatea. Nani.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in.
Me.
Well, let's start there with your name. So is Nani short for – I've never asked this. I didn't even do a pre-interview question here. Is Nani short for anything, or is that your full name?
No, my full name is Leilani.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So where did Nani come from?
My older sister, she couldn't say it when I was younger, when we were younger. So I think she used to call me Leilani. So
I like that.
And then Nani just kind of stuck.
Well, Duck fans, everybody is – really happy that you came to Oregon. How did your journey go? You played at BYU, obviously had a lot of success there. What made you choose Oregon, and what's your experience been like here?
It's been great. It's been such a blessing. I think the biggest thing that drew me here was Coach Kelly. You know, just looking back at everything that he's done for past players and seeing the kind of coach that he is, like I really wanted to be coached by him. So that was the biggest thing. And then meeting the staff and the girls, like I just really felt at home here. So.
And we'll go into some more of your background soon, but let's talk about how this team's been playing recently, too. You beat Northwestern by 20. You beat Wisconsin by 16 the last couple games. What's working well for the team with back-to-back conference wins?
I think it's just our chemistry. I think one thing that we've been really focusing on is our communication, and that comes with time together. And I think we've been really, intentional about everything that we've done. And, like, before games, before practices, we talk about things we want to focus on, and I think everybody's really intentional about doing what it is that we talk about and sticking to the game plan. I think we've done a really good job of showing that in the last few games. So. And
one thing that stands out about you and about this team, but especially with you, and as people will hear in this interview, is how professional and mature you are. That's one thing that stands out when people talk about you is, wow, she's got her stuff together, right? She's got a professional approach to life and to basketball. Where do you think that comes from?
I'm not sure. I've kind of got that my whole life. Is like ever since I was young, people have always said, "Oh, you're so mature for your age." But I think that's mainly because since I was young, I've played with my older sister, and so I've kind of just picked up things from her. And like my whole life, I've always been with the older girls because my parents didn't really want to separate us two. when we were growing up because we both played, and so I would always be on the older teams with her. And I think I kind of just picked up on what the older kids around me would do rather than the kids my age. So I think that's probably why.
Does your older sister still play?
No, she graduated.
She graduated,
Yeah.
okay. Well, shout out to her for guidance and a big part, I'm sure, bringing you here. And how about for you recently, the last few games? 3 games in a row in double figures. You're shooting it really well, better than 50% from 3 the last 5 games. What do you think has kind of flipped for you that you've been so productive as of late in terms of scoring?
I think just a little bit more confidence. I think that's like coming off of last year where I didn't play. I think it was a struggle for me to kind of feel in rhythm and feel comfortable with myself again, which is super unfamiliar to me. I'm a person that I've always been very sure of myself and very confident in my abilities, and I think I kind of struggled with that for the first part of the season, but the last few games I've really started to feel like more myself, and I think with that just comes like being more prepared and getting in the gym more and getting more shots up, and so yeah, that's how I think that's all it really. It's like a flip in my head of confidence, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And you, on this team, it's not the end of the world whether you start or come off the bench.
Yeah.
You know, right? But for the most part of the season, you have come off the bench. Has that taken something to get used to? Is to not be in the starting role, come off the bench, and still be a big spark?
Yeah, I think for sure, especially coming from BYU where I was a starter, it's definitely like a flip in your mindset. But at the same time, you have to think like the rules don't really change whether you're starting, whether you're not. Every single role, like that's what, even when I was a starter at BYU, I always knew every single role was so important, and it didn't just take 1 or 2 people to get us to win games. It would always have to be 1 through 15 or however many people are on the roster. So I think that's what's been my main focus.
So your first year here at Oregon, what's life been like for you with your classes, with the new weather, being in a new state? What's it been like?
It's been fun, honestly. I love it. Like, a lot of people have a hard time with the rain, but for me, rain is my absolute favorite weather. Like, I love being inside and just watching the rain hit the window. So that's been almost therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
So I love it.
You're in the right place then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. And then what made you choose Oregon? I mean, from a basketball perspective, you talked about it a bit with Kelly Graves, but I'm sure there was a lot of schools that wanted you, a lot of suitors. What made you lock in and want to be a Duck?
I think a big thing was just the style of play and looking at the girls that I would have to play with. I was really looking forward to playing with Filipina Che. She's huge. Who doesn't want to play with a 6'8" player, you know? And so playing with the girls, looking forward to that was really fun, but also hearing more and more about the style of play that Oregon typically has. I felt like my game would mesh pretty well with that.
And there are some other ties that you had with Oregon. So your now husband, Kingsley Suamataia, who played at Oregon for a year, and then he played at BYU. You started at BYU and came to Oregon, so you flipped.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I don't know. It feels so weird. Like, I feel like me and him, we've been on this little string our whole lives, and we didn't know about it. But, yeah, it feels so full circle that he used to be here, and I'm finishing here. But I don't even know how it happened. I really don't. Like, he only had good things to say about this place and his experience here. So it was definitely like when he heard that Kelly was interested, he was like, oh my gosh, you have to go look at it. So
that's great. Rave reviews.
Yeah.
He's now in the NFL. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. What's that been like? Have you been able to get out to Kansas City or to anywhere to go to his games? And I know you, obviously, both of you kind of have crazy travel schedules. What's that been like?
It's been crazy, but yeah, Coach Kelly's been really good about letting me get out, and like at the beginning of the year, before games started, I was able to see pretty much every single one of his games, which was really, really nice. And since then, obviously, we have games like the same day or the day after or the day before, so it's kind of hard to make my way out there. But it's been really hectic. It's been a lot of travel. For me especially, because his schedule is a lot more demanding than mine is, so he's not able to make his way out here as much. But he's really good. If he has more than one day, he's out here like so fast, even for probably 12 hours, and then he's back on a flight. So we just make it work. That's all it is.
Well, the deeper he goes in the playoffs, the less opportunities he'll have to come here. But hopefully he's got a deep run in front of him. Chris Brown, by the way, the SID for the women's basketball team's a huge Chiefs fan.
Oh, really?
So, I
didn't know that.
So, he would probably be really excited to be able to talk to you about that. Continuing our conversation here with Nani Falatea, you mentioned your family and your sister. You have a big family. You have 7 siblings. What's that like growing up in such a big family, and How big of an influence do sports have on your guys' lives?
Man, it's been the best thing in the world. I look at the way that I grew up, and I'm just like so grateful for it. I think like for me, like I want to have a huge family because of my experience as a part of one of 8, you know. I don't know if I have it in me to have as many as my mom did.
Right.
My mom is a saint. She's superwoman, but no, sports has always been such a huge part of our lives. Like my mom played basketball, my dad played football. Like there's 8 of us, so it's always like, okay, split into teams and let's play. Like
Right.
yeah, so and outside of just my own family, I have so much extended family. Like my cousins, they all happen to line up in our same ages. So like even on top of that, like every team that I'm on, it's me, my sisters, and my cousins. Like that's just how it was my whole entire childhood.
Do you think playing a lot of football, you played a lot of pickup football, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that influenced, and this might be a dumb question, but influenced into your style of basketball? Did it change your physical style of play or anything like that?
I wouldn't say so. I think my dad hoped it would, because I was never my dad almost wanted to put me on a football team when we were little, but I was never the most like aggressive, get in your grill type of player. Like if people watch me, they kind of think I'm very like chill.
I talked to Jodi
smooth.
Bear earlier, and that's what she said. Just,
Yeah.
you're really chill and relaxed.
Yeah, and that I've got that my whole life, and it's almost to a point where people think I'm bored. Like I'm not bored. I'm really not. Like,
Right.
But my dad wanted me to be more aggressive, so I think he thought that might help. But I mean, here we are. It helped with my sister. My sister is like the opposite kind of player of me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she'll get in your business, but not me.
And for you, when you think about your time in Oregon and beyond, what are some personal goals that you have with basketball and maybe just life in general?
I think with basketball, it's just I've always wanted to just be the best I could possibly be in college. I've never really had aspirations to play outside of college, especially with Kingsley now playing in the NFL. I don't think it would work. You know, me playing professionally and him playing professionally. It's just I think that might be too difficult. But personally, I think one thing I've really wanted to get into real estate. I'm not really going to school for anything of that sort, but I don't think you necessarily have to. But other than that, yeah, I that's one thing that I want to pursue career-wise. But other than that, I just want to have a family.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, sometimes I ask that, and there's be vague, you never know. But you sound like you have pretty specific goals in sight, so that sounds great. Yeah. And when we think about this year's team, right, you got the trip to Penn State coming up in Ohio State. What do you think is going to be key to having success in those games and beyond this year in the Big Ten?
I think it's just going to be unity, everybody being on the same page for every game and giving 100%. Like right now, and it's also just going to be about taking it one game at a time. I think looking at the big picture of it all it could be a little bit overwhelming and feel kind of like, okay, there's a lot to unpack there, but
right.
I think the biggest thing for us is just going to take it one game at a time, and each game is going to be a battle, and not to underestimate anybody. A lot of people have asked me, like, oh, like, how's this game going to be? I'm like, you can ask me about every single game, and my answer is going to be the same. It's going to be tough. Like, every single game is going to be a dogfight, and we have to bring our all to every single game, so.
Well, best of luck.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate your time. It was great to get to know you. Nani Falatea.
Thank you.
Redshirt junior, one of the stars of the Oregon Ducks. Thanks a lot, Nani.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Ready for a fight, Nani Falatea. That's what it's going to be. Game in, game out. It's going to be a fight on both the men's and the women's side in Big Ten Conference play. Oregon this week on the women's side playing against Penn State and Ohio State. Ohio State will be a quad 1 game, and Penn State will be a quad 2 qualifying game in the net, which we will continue to break down all the way up into Selection Sunday because it is going to prove pivotal in a conference that is so deep, is so talented, has so many teams that excelled in the non-conference. You've got to have a strong net rating, and all of these games continue to matter, and a lot of them continue to bolster net ratings. So for Oregon women's basketball, Penn State, 2 o'clock tomorrow, where they will play against the Nittany Lions, a quad 2 road game. Chris Clayton on the call starting at 1:30. Transitioning over to the men, Joey Mack, he's on the road. Ducks in Columbus. He also sat down earlier in the week with Mike Mennenga. We'll have that on the other side of this timeout on Deck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything, but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Back on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here, filling in for Joey Mack on the road with Oregon men's basketball. Earlier in the week, before the team shipped off, Joey Mack had a chance to sit down with the assistant coach, Oregon men's basketball's Mike Mennenga. The conversation between Joey Mack and Coach Mennenga. Here we go.
It's the start of a new year, which means it's the start of our Toyota coaches interviews. Assistant Coach Mike Mennenga with us.
Let's go.
The very first one of the year. So it's a short week, so a little bit of inside the broadcast for you. Part of the new Big Ten, right? Ducks travel sometimes a little bit earlier. Going to travel on a Tuesday. So here we are talking on a Monday. It's a short week. Mike, I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
Joey
Coach
Mack.
Mennenga, thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, I mean, yesterday, obviously, the weekend that we've had, it was an emotional roller coaster ride. So when Joey Mack hit me up before the game yesterday, I'd be like, hey, Coach, I'm going to have you in for the show tomorrow morning. And I was just like, ooh, what could I be getting myself into? But, man, the Ducks bowed up, and, man, we got it done over a really talented and tough Maryland team. Yeah. And we'd like to think we're back on track, you know, and big week ahead.
Big week ahead. Well, a lot to review for the first show, but I got to tell everybody, like, Coach would have come on, win or lose, which I always appreciate.
I would have.
But also that conversation at 3:30 is a lot up fun when I go, hey, Coach, like, we good? Are we sure we're good to roll?
You know, so I end up formulating my thoughts. And I was just like, you know what? It's the Ducks are at home. We need this one.
Yeah.
And unofficially, fans, it's supposed to be Grateful Dead night. I was just I'm a big Grateful Dead guy, Dead Company guy. So it's just, oh man, there's no way the Ducks we could let this one go on Dead Day, man. Yeah. So you know, I wake up this morning.
Yeah,
I'm very grateful.
He's
very
got the grateful
to be a Duck. Grateful to our fan base for willing us through with the fellas. Grateful to the guys for bowing up. And, man, just keeping us back on track and keeping this momentum going. Nobody's going to go undefeated in this league. No. This is without a doubt the best basketball league in the country, you know, and we're about to get into it and stay after it.
So so coming into the week, right, for a little context, Illinois, Oregon, Maryland, all top 13 in the net, right? Now it's shifted around a little bit since then. Ducks are at number 20 in the net, still a good spot at this point in the year. But, Coach, I mean, you have the tough one against Illinois. What was the next 48 hours like heading into a matchup with another good team in Maryland?
You know, going into the week, this is all respect to Illinois. You know what I mean? Just from the eye, from a scout, and from what we know about the players, from what I was telling you before camera, just, you know, them as recruits, et cetera. You know, we thought Maryland was going to be the toughest game of the two, you know, because Illinois, they live and die by the three. You know what I mean? And, man, they just caught fire on us. A lot of it had to do with us, you know, kind of giving into it. But then they had to make the shot. And they made 16 of them. And then they follow up the very next day at Washington and make 5. You know what I mean? So, again, coming off that Illinois game, you know, the biggest question was, do we flush it or do we talk about it?
Right, yeah.
You know, and we just felt like we know where we want to go. This is a championship level program. We're after the whole thing. You know what I mean? So if we're after the whole thing, then guess what? We're going to have to address it.
Sure.
So we talked about it. You know, we had some tough conversations with the guys. The guys met with each other as a team, and you know, that game yesterday, there was a lot on the line for that game. You know, how important momentum is in any sport, but in basketball, especially with us coming off the mountain of success that we've built to this point. You know, and obviously they don't give rewards for that. But at the same time, we are who we are right now, but we got a lot of season ahead of us and a really tough road trip. So we needed to have that one.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm very grateful for
there
all the fellas, you know, coming together and taking ownership and, you know, getting it done.
You know, and that's tough to do, right? Like
very much so.
You have a veteran team. Right? Like a couple transfers, and Coach Altman and I have talked about this, but in terms of like roster assembly, you got to like having a veteran team for a day like that, right?
100%. You got to have it. You know what I mean? And, you know, like I go, like yesterday, Brandon Angel and TJ Bamba didn't have the best days.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think they'd sit here on the camera and admit that. But guess what? You know, TJ had 4 deflections. He had 3 steals. You know, Brandon, he's always given us – we're always struggling with our physicality. Coach is always challenging them on their physicality and rebounding. That's one thing Brandon is going to do. Brandon's going to go down swinging.
Yeah.
You know, even if he's missing some shots that he's been tipped, he's a 40% three-point shooter, missed a couple looks. You know, still finding a way to contribute that way. So even though they had tough days, they still did some things to help us win. But then, you know, obviously Jackson, you know, pulled up and was who he thought who he played like who we thought he is, you know. And back to the vet calls, you know, Keeshawn and Nate. You know, Nate is 4 years now. He's a Duck.
Right.
You know, and it's about that. He's a McDonald's All-American. He's put in the time. You know, that was his moment to go get it. You know, so again, it was just a great collective effort, and Bam Tracy's just been an amazing energy. You know, just energy for our locker room, on the court, off the court, in timeouts. You know, he's a steady force of communication for our guys.
Well, and focusing in on a couple plays, it's funny. So as you can imagine, Coach, I brought up to Coach Altman, right, having the experience, right, and no bigger plays than Jackson Shellstad darts down the lane at the end of the shot clock, and Bam Tracy finds him, right? To break a tie. Similarly, Keeshawn Barthelemy hits a 3 to break a tie. But then, of course, you know what Coach said? He goes, well, the Nate Biddle block at the other end to keep it tied was maybe 100%. The biggest thing. I mean, you got to make plays like that.
You do. And I'll say this, Nate's block, without a doubt, was paramount. You know what I mean? It just sets a tone when Nate's active down there, and it's tough to finish at the rim when you have a big guy like that. So Nate, obviously, man, it gives us incredible presence. But from a coach's perspective, we've always been on offense. We've been big on the guys who are moving without the ball.
Sure.
You know, and making cuts. You know, having a little IQ off the ball, and that, you know, seeing Jackson, and that's one of the Jackson's points of we're trying to get better at.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who he is off the ball. He's dynamite with the ball. Right. You know what I mean? So that cut, you know, was a culmination of a lot of coaching and interaction. He saw the light opportunity, and, man, we needed that one too. And that was a heck of a finish at the end of it too. He was in the trees on that one when he finished it.
Yeah, that's exactly what Luke Jackson said on the broadcast. He was like, he was in the middle of the Maryland trees.
You know what's funny about that is that the timeout, the play before, they had a play at the basket, and they've been tapping him around a little bit. And then we came into the timeout, and we actually talked about next time you get around the basket, think about more using your body and a pump fake and just,
getting in.
Don't get that athlete, allow him to kind of get up off the ground. You know what I mean? And I thought he kind of got bumped on it. Could have been an and one on some, any other particular play. You know what I mean? But Jackson, man, he went in there, he cut, he was strong with it, and, man, he finished it, and we needed it.
Yeah. Talking about, like, the experience, too, for a guy who's a sophomore. I'm now remembering a certain play as we continue with Mike Mennenga. So – Derek Queen, who may very well be a lottery pick for Maryland.
He's right on it, man.
Right?
No doubt.
He ends up, in one particular situation, he's face guarding Jackson. When Jackson's got it going, he's perfect from the field. He hit 5 of 5 from 3, right? First guy, by the way, since Tyler Dorsey to go perfect from 3.
Wow, Mr. March.
Attempting 5 or more, yeah. So he's face guarding him near the 3-point line. Jackson just backs off to midcourt, ends up being 4-on-4.
Yeah.
You get an offensive bucket out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, that was great recognition by Coach, and obviously Jackson.
Just based him.
It's not coaching if they're not listening. So Coach said something to Jackson, immediately went to the spot, and then we attacked the seam and got a bucket there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, man. So no, Joey, it was all in all a lot of emotions, a lot of things were at play there, and like I said before, momentum, whether it's in game or in a season, the Ducks got momentum, and that was a momentum swinging game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're keeping it, going into the week.
Now going on the road, talking with Mike Mennenga, Oregon men's basketball assistant coach. Give us a look, if you could, Coach. What's the report first on Ohio State and then Penn State coming up?
Well, Ohio State, obviously, historically, has always been one of the better programs in the Big Ten, basketball-wise. And then, obviously, they got a new coach, Coach Diebler, and he was an assistant on that staff. So they got a refound energy there. I think they're in the same space as us, trying to just kind of reestablish their identity. They got a heck of a guard in Bruce Thornton, who's playing as one of the best guys in the league right now. So they're going to be a handful. Penn State is known for full court pressure basketball. Going back into our 2021 Sweet 16 run, the head coach there was the VCU head coach, and now he's at Penn State, and he's taken that run and jump pressure style to Penn State. And they swarm you. They shoot threes. They got good athletes, So both games are going to be a great, great challenge. And to be honest with you, since they're on the road, 2 quad 1 opportunities for us. And we were talking about before kind of where we're at. Auburn is number 1 ranked team in the country. We're next to Tennessee. Depends on what you're looking at, But
poll?
they got the most, quad 1 wins. They're at 6. We're at 5 now. You know what I mean? So. We're just got take it to make the most of this opportunity that we have ahead of us.
Opportunity ahead. Keys to success. What will it take?
I would be remiss if it comes back down to our physicality. You got to be physical on the road. You know what I mean? It's us against them, us against the Ohio State world, Penn State nation. And we got to take that hard hat mentality into there. So our physicality, whether we're rebounding, whether we're screening, how hard we cut. You know what I mean? And then I think going into these next 2 games, taking care of the ball. You know what I mean? We got to make sure we get a shot up on every possession. We got to really value the basketball, I think, this week.
Big Ten, a couple big picture questions for you now. So, mandate 2 days in between games. A little bit different than the Pac-12.
Right.
How does that adjust for a coach? How does it adjust for a team when you have a little extra time between games?
I guess we're going to find out. I mean, we're trying to, the way we're kind of looking at it like this, I think Coach kind of said it in the post game with y'all the other day. The way we're traveling right now, whether it's 2.5 hours to Arizona or to LA, well, guess what? It's just another hour and 20 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just another episode on Netflix, baby. You know what I'm saying? We'll be right there. No problem, guys. You know what I mean? So, I know, and that's the beautiful thing about being an Oregon Duck, man. They take care of us. We're passionate about winning and supporting their teams to win at a high level. So, all those things that are accounted for that could affect us. I
just feel like the rest factor, it's got to be different in the Big Ten compared to the Pac-12, right?
I mean,
the extra day matters.
It does. I mean, it does. And Coach has been awesome. As much as he's a great coach on the court, like off the court, as far as making sure guys get their recovery, staying hydrated, all those little things factor into it. But it's nothing new for us. It's something that we just do on a daily. So we just got to take our daily show on the road and execute.
Mike Mennenga with us. All right. It's the Big Ten. Fans still getting to know it.
All righty.
You called it the best basketball conference this season so far.
I think so, and
What's your
obviously I am very biased. And you know what? I can be considered a professional source, because I grew up in Illinois. I grew up in Big Ten basketball. I've been there since the 70s and the 80s. That's the conference I grew up on. So I do have a little feel for the history and everything like that. And obviously, the evolution of the Big Ten and Big Ten basketball, especially by adding, USC, UCLA, Washington, now the Ducks. Are you kidding me? As a fan of the Big Ten, oh my gosh, man. I know all my people back home are just so ecstatic.
Cool.
About everything like that. And obviously, they're passionate about their fan bases, but they're super excited about adding a program and a culture like the Oregon Ducks.
Pretty exciting.
It is.
Mike Mennenga, Oregon men's basketball assistant coach. I could talk to you for another 10 minutes.
Let's do it.
What else you got, Mike? What else? I'm ready. This is good.
Oh, no. I mean, again, man, it goes without saying, anytime I get an opportunity to come on here and just address the fans and let them know how much they mean to not just our men's basketball, but women's basketball, from football to volleyball to, you guys move the needle for us. And we were embarrassed coming off that Illinois game. So just as motivated as we were for our own selfish basketball lives and trajectory, we were just as embarrassed for our fans. And, you guys bounced back with us for that Maryland game, and we can't wait to get back here after a tough road trip and continue to represent you at championship levels.
Energy was big.
It was, man. It was. And now we got the students back. Students came back. We got that little extra pop, and now it's going to be on us to continue that buzzword momentum, to continue to harness that momentum and evolve this into something where, who knows where this thing can go.
That's right. A lot of potential. There's no doubt about that. I mean, right?
We are where we are. We're in a great spot. Position-wise. If you look at it from a national perspective with opportunity ahead of us. So what more can you ask for in life, whether you're in basketball or any industry? You're in a good spot moving forward with momentum, and you have opportunity ahead.
Grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful. That's exactly right.
Grateful. Mike Mennenga, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Yep.
Mike Mennenga, he's right. Huge opportunity for Oregon coming up. 2 Quad 1 road games against Ohio State tomorrow, 3 o'clock, and then Penn State on Sunday. Getting to hear from one of the men's basketball players, Keeshawn Barthelemy. That's coming up after this timeout on Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jan from Toyota here, live with some big news. Toyotathon is on. Okay, now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Dealer inventory may vary. Toyotathon ends January 6th. Participating dealers only. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Jan from Toyota here, live with some big news. Toyotathon is on. Okay, now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Dealer inventory may vary. Toyotathon ends January 6th. Participating dealers only. Toyota, let's go places.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Back here inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. We just heard from the Oregon men's basketball assistant coach Mike Mennenga. Now hearing from one of the players, Keeshawn Barthelemy. A general media session on Monday he had talking about the weekend that was in the win over Maryland, the loss against Illinois, and also the upcoming weekend going up against Ohio State tomorrow as well as Penn State on Sunday. Keeshawn Barthelemy, what do you have to say?
Yeah, how do you feel about just going on this first Big Ten road trip?
I'm excited, honestly. My whole career I've been in the Pac-12, so just going on a road game in the East Coast, like closer to home, is different, and I'm excited about it. I mean, the flight is going to be long, but I'm just excited to get the season started in the Big Ten.
Flights and the time change, the time zones, is that a thing or is that overblown?
I think it's overblown. I'm from the East Coast, so every time I have to go home, I don't have to necessarily play basketball, but every time I go home, it is a long flight. But I'm kind of used to it, so I don't think it'll make that much of a difference.
What are your thoughts on just this past week, the Illinois game, Maryland, and how you guys responded, and just kind of how it prepped you for the rest of the season?
Well, that was a weird week. Obviously the way we lost to Illinois wasn't the way we wanted to play at all, but the sun came up the next day and you got to practice, and then here comes Maryland. Maryland's not going to come in here and feel sorry for us, so we had to dig in, and it was really a gut check for us, and we got it done last night. So it wasn't the end all be all. We just we lost at home. It happens, but we bounced back.
I feel like you guys have handled the physicality of league play now.
I think we're embracing it. The way the games are being officiated is different. I feel like it's more physical, and it's. I think it's good for the sport, and I think we're getting used to it as a West Coast team.
What was it? What's it like watching Jackson have a game like he had yesterday when he's basically hitting every shot he takes?
Yeah, that's the Jackson we all know, right? Like the way he plays, and he plays with confidence. And he's always probing, always looking for good opportunities for himself, but the team as well. And yesterday was just a good example of what he can do in Big Ten play.
You really picked up your three-point shooting this season. Just practicing it that much more. What's gone into that?
Just confidence. Obviously you said practicing, but with practice comes confidence, I feel like. And the coaching staff also encourages me to shoot the good ones. And I feel like when my feet are planted and I can see the rim, I feel like it's a good shot for myself and the team. So just confidence, I would say, is the main difference or improvement.
Players, I realize in the NBA, threes are the name of the game. When there's so few players, though, nationally, Keith, who are shooting that well.
Right.
As one of them who is, why is it that so many players want to just jack up threes all day when there's a very, very, very low number who can actually shoot? 35 or 45%.
I think it's mainly because of the way I think Steph Curry's changed the game, honestly. The people that really shoot threes are the guards, and I feel like now it's threes or layups, and just that's how the way maybe the game is played now. But I try to just focus on taking good ones, and since I'm good at it, obviously it helps. But I think the reason why we're seeing a lot of threes now is just the way the game's changed over time. Yeah.
Keeshawn Barthelemy, proficient, efficient three-point shooter, has learned a lot from one of the best, emulating his game. Keeshawn Barthelemy preparing for a matchup against Ohio State, 3 o'clock coming up tomorrow on the Oregon Sports Network 2:30 pregame show with Joey Mack. Got to get a quick timeout. When we return, break down the schedule for tomorrow as well as a few new ducks to the flock. Coming up on Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
My son Ricky took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me, and I contemplated suicide. My grandson, I was gonna have to be here for him. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because I want to keep my grandson and myself safe.
Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
This message is for Shauna, my mom who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember, back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son?
Back inside the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union, and now it is time for the Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Track and field, the transfer portal is open for track and field, and the Ducks have welcomed 2 official new members to the flock. On the women's side, a distance runner, Juliet Cherubet, a transfer from Texas Tech, coming in to help the distance team for the women of Oregon, and for the men of Oregon, coming from Auburn, a sprinter, Favor Ash. 2 great names welcomed to this new flock. Excited to see what they're going to be able to do at Hayward Field coming up. The schedule for tomorrow, 1:30, Chris Clayton takes air with the pregame for women's basketball against Penn State, 2 o'clock tip, 2:30 pregame for men's basketball against Ohio State. Joey Mack will have you at a 3 o'clock tip. That's the Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. That's the show, Duck Insider. Have a good one, everybody, and go Ducks.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Cars get hot fast.